Hi. Pokemon Red, but every Pokemon is Fairy type. So right off the bat, you might notice there's some of the earlier major battles and key moments playing in the background. Let me explain. When I first thought to do this run, I hadn't given it much thought other than, hey, I'm gonna make every Pokemon Fairy type, and it's gonna be really cool because Fairy type isn't even a thing until Gen 6. But there were some unforeseen things that once I get into will seem really obvious. And don't worry, this isn't a boring run by any means. I'm just skipping a lot of the battles that aren't important or notable. So for this run, I obviously changed every Pokemon to the Fairy type, but I also updated any moves to their modern day typing. So for example, I changed Karate Chop to Fighting type and Bite to Dark type. I considered adding Fairy type moves into the game, but then where do I draw the line with adding moves? Do I add Steel type moves too? Do I update all the move pools for all the Gen 1 Pokemon? That wouldn't have felt like a Gen 1 experience if I had done that, so I simply kept all moves vanilla except for Gen 1 moves that were updated in a later generation. Keeping that in mind, let's look at the defensive properties of the Fairy type. So it's weak to Poison and Steel, it resists Fighting, Bug, and Dark, and is immune to Dragon. And at this point, you might see where I'm going with all of this. Even with updating moves to their modern day typings, there are no Steel type moves, so we can remove that. We can also remove Dragon from immunity because even though there is a Dragon type move in the game, it's Dragon Rage, which deals direct damage and is not affected by type matchups. So we're left with Poison, Fighting, Bug, and Dark in the type matchup list. Only 4 types that are not neutral to Fairy types, and these 4 types are either incredibly uncommon or just not good. The strongest Poison type move is Sludge with a base power of 65, and only 2 evolution lines can learn it, Coughing and Grimer, and we can't get either of those until after beating Koga and getting Surf. There's several Fighting type moves, but only a handful of Pokemon learn any of them. Bug is Bug, and there's a grand total of 1 Dark type move in the game being Bite. So there's a whole lot of neutral damage going on in the early to mid game with a few Poison Stings and Karate Chops here and there. And as far as my team goes, I really just needed something that could do consistent damage and had semi-decent stats, since very few things could learn viable super effective moves. And since I can't rely on those type matchups, everything ends up being a bit of a slog. You'll see I chose Squirtle as my starter and I picked up a Clefairy. I wasn't anticipating using Squirtle or Wartortle for this run, but I was struggling to find a replacement for it since, again, everything is doing neutral damage. It didn't really seem like a good idea to replace it with all the experience it had already gotten. Nothing was just a clear and easy pick for the team either, and I had already taught Wartortle Bubble Beam, so there's a move I can't get back. But after the first loss against Erika, I decided I just needed to replace it with something. As of right now, the team is just too heavily focused on special damage, and not much else. Without a good speed option or a breakout attack stat, this run is going to continue to be slow. So I went to the Safari Zone just to take a gander at what was available. I considered Nidoran male, but I feel like I just used both Nidoran not too long ago, and I've said this before, but I don't really like overusing different lines. I also found a Chansey that, of course, I tried to catch, and here you can see the after effects of me not removing all the remnants of the Fairy type moves I considered adding. Yes, adding moves and then not completely removing them broke the catching animation. Gen 1, am I right? I then come across a Tauros, and a Tauros honestly would be a really good pick for the team. It's got speed, it's got attack, as well as a good move in Stomp. But I don't catch this one, and I run into this Venomoth. I briefly consider catching Venomoth because it does learn Psychic later on and has slightly higher speed and higher special than Blastoise, but decide against it and keep looking for Tauros. But then I don't see another Tauros for a really long time. I run into this Venomoth, tell myself if I catch it, I'll use it, and wouldn't you know it, I catch it first try and name it Luna. So there we go. A newly caught Venomoth at this level is a bit of a gamble. Its only attacking move is Leech Life, which completely sucks in this run, but it does have Poison Powder and Stun Spore that can turn the tides of certain battles. I hold on to Kappa, the Wartortle for now, with our newly caught Luna. Let's take on Erika again. I send out Luna, and she of course sends out Victory Bell, which I try to paralyze immediately, but miss twice, allowing her to poison Luna. Getting the paralysis off on the 3rd try, Victory Bell is undeterred and goes into Wrap. Erika is so annoying. I swap into Kappa to get out of Wrap. Victory Bell is still undeterred by paralysis and gets off a Poison Powder. 2 turns later, Victory Bell still hasn't been fully paralyzed and goes into Wrap on Kappa, so I swap back into Luna. 2 turns with Luna, still no paralysis, but finally, when I swap back into Kappa, Victory Bell loses a turn. A lot of unfortunate Agatha style back and forth and some leech life uses I don't want to talk about because I was at a low point in this run, and I finally send out Fairy to get some Thunderbolts off to take out the Victory Bell. But not before it poisons Fairy. Erika is so annoying. Luckily, that was the worst Pokemon on her team to deal with, as Tangela goes down in just 3 turns, doing minimum damage to Fairy with just 2 Constricts. And I want to use Minimize, but I really shouldn't because it's so cheap, but Thunderbolt is doing so little, and it's going to be a, what, 5 hit, 6 hit? But Vileplume takes Fairy out with a Petal Dance. It's going to come down to luck, isn't it? I send Luna back out, and can we get some sort of weird Mega Crit with Leech Life? No, and Luna goes down, but I still have my Oddish and Doduo, Druid, and Hansel. Surely we can chip away at Vileplume's last bit of health? We didn't need to, it just knocked itself out. Nice, Erika is down. What an epic battle. And yes, I say that sarcastically. I think that fight really brings home just how bad our team is at taking out teams with high special, and how desperately we need a physical attacker. After teaching Mega Drain to Luna, I trained a little bit in Sil, finally bench Kappa, go put Luna in the daycare because I really don't want to have to train it just with Mega Drain, and after a couple levels in there and beating the Fighting Dojo Master, Luna learns Psybeam. It finally knows a good attacking move. This is so exciting. And after training a bit more in Sil, Fairy finally learns Defense Curl, which is what it needed before I evolve it into Clefable. And now that we have a Clefable, let's take on Koga's gym. Koga has poison types and good AI, so he'll only be using poison type moves. This is going to be a quick battle no matter what. He sends out Coughing and I send out Fairy. Thunderbolt does over half to the first Coughing, so this is already looking really good. But Coughing hits with Smog and gets the poison on Fairy before Thunderbolt knocks it out. That tick damage might hurt in this battle. Muck comes out and Thunderbolt crits, doing massive damage before Muck hits back with the Sludge, taking a chunk of health from Fairy. The next Thunderbolt does not knock out the Muck, much to my surprise, and Muck is able to do more damage with that hard-hitting Sludge before finally going down. The second Coughing is a non-issue and misses Smog, going down in 2, and now we have Wheezing. Thunderbolt does about a fourth to Wheezing that gets an X attack going. The second Thunderbolt takes Wheezing under half, and Wheezing Sludge knocks Fairy out. Hopefully Luna can finish the job off, but Psybeam is not doing a whole lot. Wheezing Smog crits, doing massive damage. Wheezing lives on a sliver from Psybeam, but luckily misses, and Luna is able to take the Wheezing out next turn. That was actually some really good luck. If his 2 Coughing and Wheezing had gone for Sludge instead of Smog at any time, this fight could have gone completely different. Now that we have Koga's badge and can surf, we can finally pick up our last team member from the Cinnabar Mansion, Spriggan the Muck. And let me tell you something, Spriggan is exactly what I needed in this run. Muck might have a low speed stat, but it more than makes up for it in its attack, its badge boosting moves, and its effectively base 130 power Sludge. And with Spriggan, I head back over to Sylph to finish up the Rocket Grunts there. Let's take on Sylph Rival. He sends out Pidgeot as he does, and I send out Spriggan for its major battle debut. Pidgeot gets a crit quick attack off, doing a little bit, but Spriggan gets a crit of its own, one-shotting the Pidgeot. Yes, I think it's safe to say Spriggan was exactly what we needed. Gyarados is a 2-hit with a Hydro Pump miss. Growlithe is a 1-hit. Alakazam is a 1-hit. Fun fact, Alakazam and Growlithe both have the same base defense stat. And Venusaur took some major damage and got poisoned. And I'm going to swap into Luna just so it gets some experience and is able to knock the Venusaur out in a couple of turns. Luna levels up and can learn Sleep Powder, which we teach over Stun Spore. I cannot tell you how refreshing it is to have Spriggan on the team at this point. I know I didn't show a lot of the battles in the early game, but just trust me on this. That fight was so nice. The run was just so slow beforehand. I was even dreading editing the first half of this video just because of how drawn out all the battles were. I especially needed Spriggan on the damn recording here because our AC had gone out. You can probably tell by my glisten and redness, and to be honest, I don't know if I would have recorded anything had Spriggan not been there to get me through it. But anyways, we're fighting Giovanni, and he has a team that all has pretty low special, so Fairy is able to beat all of them with relative ease. Moving on to Sabrina's gym, I think you already know what we're going to do here. That's right, the Spriggan Sweep. I use 4 Harden against Kadabra to try and get a decent speed boost, and let's get into it. Kadabra's a 1-hit, Mr. Mime's a 1-hit, Venomoth's a 1-hit. We don't outspeed the Alakazam, but we survived that crit Psybeam, and it goes down in 1 as well, getting us the win on Sabrina. Just too easy. Heading straight to Blaine, I lead off with Luna, and of course he sends out his Growlithe. Not much to worry about here. Remember, fire-type moves aren't super effective against fairy types. It's just fairy-type moves that are resisted by fire types. Growlithe ends up going down in 2, Blaine using his signature Super Potion between hits. Ponyta is a 3-hit, getting us some badge boosts with Tail Whip and Growl, and we outspeed the Rapidash for sure with those badge boosts, also taking it down in 3 with that lucky crit, while Rapidash continues what Ponyta started with, lowering Luna's defense. With all those defense drops, pretty sure there's a chance Arcanine could take Luna out with a takedown, so we use Sleep Powder and it just works, keeping Arcanine asleep 5 turns plus the Super Potion turn, letting Luna knock it out with no issue. And Blaine is down. We get Fire Blast from this fight, and I could teach it to Spriggan, but I hold off on that for now. Making my way back to Viridian to take on Giovanni's team, I want to note here that we are at a bit higher level than we normally are for these runs, and part of that is catching Luna and Spriggan when they were already at a decent level. That and Fairy is part of the fast level up group, needing less experience to level up than other Pokemon. Alright, after quickly beating everyone in the gym, let's take on Giovanni. He sends out Rhyhorn, of course, and I send out Luna again, going for a turn 1 Psybeam that crits, allowing for an easy 2-hit knockout. Dugtrio comes out, and I was wondering if we would, but we do in fact outspeed, getting a Psybeam off before it can go underground. Giovanni prolongs the inevitable by using Guard Spec, keeping Dugtrio underground, but it finally comes back up, landing a crit. Luna's next Psybeam takes it down to low health, and it goes for and misses a Growl, allowing Luna an easy knockout. Nidoqueen comes out, and we try to heal up a bit with Mega Drain, but Nidoqueen's Poison Sting crits and does some pretty good damage, taking us right back down to the low 40s. Alright, you're going to sleep. And that allows us to chip damage and chip heal our way back up to half health before trading a couple more blows and knocking it out. Nidoking comes out and we hit the second term Sleep Powder. It lets us heal up even more before waking up and doing some damage with Poison Sting and poisoning Luna before we get the knockout. Not that the poison mattered because we have 2 other team members to swap into. I get a Toxic off on Rhydon as a just-in-case strategy, but I don't think we needed it. I swap into Fairy, Thunderbolt takes it way down. Once again, I'm taken aback by Rhydon's impressive attack stat, but the second Thunderbolt knocks it out easily, earning us the last gym badge of the game. I should get the TM for Fisher from this fight, but I don't think I've done any inventory management at all in this entire run, so Giovanni couldn't give it to me, and you know what? Nothing of value was lost. Heading over to Rival, I want to use Spriggan for 2 reasons. 1, to get it some XP, and 2, because it's really fun. I go ahead and teach it Fire Blast over Poison Gas before the fight, and let's take on Rival. Rival sends out Pidgeot as he does, and I send out Spriggan, of course. I start setting up some Harden just to get the badge boosts going. I don't think I mentioned it in this video, but if you're unfamiliar with badge boosts, there's an article linked in the description of all my Gen 1 videos that explains it very well. After 4 Hardens, I'm not completely set up, but we should be good enough to outspeed some stuff. Sludge does not one-shot the Pidgeot, which is a little concerning. Rhyhorn comes out, and I just want to see what Fire Blast does, and it ends up one-shotting. Nice. Gyarados goes down in 2 Sludges, missing a Leer between hits. Growlithe goes down in 1. We don't outspeed the Alakazam, unsurprisingly, but knock it out in 1. And unfortunately, Spriggan levels up, losing all those badge boosts. We don't outspeed the Venusaur anymore, but it misses Poison Powder, letting us hit with Sludge, doing about a third, and getting a poison ourselves. Not to be outdone, and thanks to good AI, Venusaur uses another Poison Powder, this time hitting, and for science, I just want to see how much Fire Blast does, and it does about a fourth, maybe less, so yeah, Sludge is the play. Venusaur was attempting some chip damage on us, but Spriggan gets one last Sludge off to win the fight against Rival. Moving into Indigo Plateau, our team is looking pretty good level-wise. I said that before, but we're at a higher level than usual in these runs, Spriggan and Luna being level 48 and Fairy being level 47. And that being the case, let's just go straight into it. First up is Lorelei, and I'm going to lead off with Spriggan to hopefully get some Harden to set up and maybe just sweep her team. I start going into Harden completely forgetting Dugong likes using Rest on turn 2, so I'm a little late on the damage to get her to sleep. Dugong lands a crit Aurora Beam, taking Spriggan down under half, which isn't great, and then survives on just a sliver after a Sludge. We go for another Harden, and Lorelei uses a Super Potion to restore a little bit of health. We can probably knock her out this turn though. Unless we get a Gen 1 miss, you hate to see it. Thankfully, Aurora Beam doesn't do a whole lot, and the next Sludge hits, knocking it out. Next out is Cloyster, and Fire Blast isn't doing a whole lot to it, and it knocks Spriggan out in a couple of multi-hit moves. I send Luna out hoping for some decent damage with Psybeam, but it looks like it'll be 3 hits to knock out the Cloyster. Luckily, Cloyster misses a Supersonic, and Luna knocks it out. Slowbro comes out, and we're definitely setting up a Toxic here as it loves using Withdraw and Amnesia. It doesn't do a whole lot, and Luna is able to take it down easy enough. And then Jinx comes out. And you remember the fairy moves I didn't completely get rid of? Well, here's another remnant of that causing trouble. Luckily, I was only incredibly confused for a little bit, and also luckily, Lapras knocked out the rest of my team, so that solved the dilemma of whether or not I needed to restart the Elite Four run. I also forgot to buy potions, full heals, and revive, so yeah, you know what? This was planned. Definitely. This was all definitely planned. So I fixed Jinx, and getting back into the game, I decided to go ahead and grind a bit on the trainers in Victory Road. I mean, we did just lose to Lorelei with one of her Pokemon being almost unusable, so I think it's safe to say we could gain a few levels before trying again. Alright, I picked up the max potions, revives, and full heals. The team is at an even level 49, and let's rematch Lorelei. Lorelei sends out her Dugong, and I try luring out the rest correctly this time, and it actually works. Spriggan just takes a little bit of damage against Dugong before knocking it out with a couple of sludges. Cloyster comes out and takes over half damage from Fire Blast, strikes back with a little Aurora Beam, and goes down to a second Fire Blast. Slowbro ends up being a 3-hit with Sludge, using an unnecessary Amnesia and attempting to heal with a Super Potion, but it's too little, too late. Jinx is an easy 1-hit, being so weak defensively, and unfortunately we level up, losing all of those badge boosts. But we still outspeed the Lapras! Spriggan gets a Sludge off on Lapras, poisoning it in the process, and we may have lost the badge boost, but we still have all of Harden's defense boosts, meaning Body Slam does next to nothing against Spriggan. Another Sludge takes Lapras down to low health, and Lapras does what Lapras does best and confuses Spriggan, making Spriggan hit itself next turn and take some pretty decent damage from Hydro Pump. But Spriggan is able to hit through the confusion on the next turn, connecting with Sludge and winning the fight against Lorelei. I was debating whether to use Muck or Weezing in this run, and I'm glad I went with Muck. Having access to those badge boosts, along with having slightly higher attack, definitely made Lorelei an easy fight. Facing off against Bruno, I lead with Luna while he, of course, sends out Onix. His first Onix is a 2-hit, only hitting with Rage in between attacks, and then Hitmonchan comes out. And normally this thing is a joke, but today status effect luck was on its side and it paralyzes Luna turn 1. We're fully paralyzed next turn, which Bruno wastes with a counter, but then we're able to knock it out over the next 2 turns. Then Hitmonlee comes out and we don't outspeed it since we're paralyzed, and it crits with a high jump kick, doing major damage to Luna. Psybeam does just under half, so I guess it didn't matter too much that we don't outspeed. Hitmonlee then hits jump kick, taking Luna down even lower, and Luna's fully paralyzed. Luckily, Bruno chokes as he does and uses X-Defend as he does, and Luna is able to knock out the Hitmonlee. With all these full paralysis, I just want to reference back to the fight against Erika, where her Victory Bell was fully paralyzed once out of like 8 turns. I swear there's a hidden luck stat in these games or something, I don't know. Anyways, we don't outspeed the second Onix, of course, and it knocks Luna out with Rock Throw. Bruno's Onix knocking something out, not something you see every day. Sending out Fairy Onix is an easy 2-hit with Thunderbolt. Last out is Machamp, and it quite literally does nothing, which is hilarious because Bruno doesn't even have good AI to prevent super effective moves. He simply chose to do nothing. Agatha time! Agatha's Pokemon are all fairly weak defensively, so I'm going to try utilizing Spriggan's massive attack stat against them. No setup Sludge does about 3/4 to the first Gengar, so we're looking pretty good. And we get a Poison. Gengar hits back with a Nightshade before Spriggan takes it out with another Sludge. Golbat comes out and Wing Attack does very little. Sludge takes it down to half, and then it lands with Supersonic because of course it does. Luckily, Spriggan is able to hit through it, taking out the Golbat and getting a level up. Haunter comes out and it chose Violence, hitting with Nightshade right out of the gate, and Sludge does not one-hit it. But it then tries a Dream Eater, wasting a turn and letting Spriggan knock it out. Arbok comes out and uses Acid, taking Spriggan all the way down to 1 HP, but Spriggan hits back with a Sludge, doing well over half and getting the 3rd poison of the fight. I swap in Fairy just to save Spriggan in case we need it. Arbok goes for a weak bite, then a strong Acid, taking Fairy way down to 57 HP, but Fairy hits back with Thunderbolt, knocking it out. Last up is Agatha's Ace Gengar that confuses Fairy immediately, and Thunderbolt does next to nothing against it. And the next turn, Gengar Nightshades Fairy, knocking her out. I send out Luna next using Toxic, and honestly that wasn't the best move. Probably should have gone with Sleep Powder and swapped into Spriggan. Luna tries to hang on with Mega Drain after that Nightshade, and Gengar hits it with a Toxic before knocking it out with another Nightshade. Yeah, should have used Sleep Powder. I send in Spriggan at 1 HP, and Gengar goes for Dream Eater, taking damage from Toxic and then going down to Spriggan's Sludge. I guess Agatha's letting me with this one, and I'm okay with that. Just one Elite Four member left. I go ahead and use the rare candies here, Luna learning Psychic in the process, and we get Spriggan and Luna up to level 53 and Fairy up to level 52. Putting Luna out in front, let's take on Lance. Lance sends out Gyarados and I send out Luna and go for Psychic. That does nothing. Gyarados hits back with a Hyper Beam, doing major damage but not getting the knockout, letting us have a free turn, so of course we have to put it to sleep. With it asleep, Luna is able to use Psychic and Mega Drain to eventually take it down while it sleeps away. Dragonair is out next, and it lets us have some free turns to also put it to sleep, and Luna is able to heal up a bunch and knock it out with some Psychics. Dragonair 2 comes out, and Luna is able to hold on from a Hyper Beam, knocking it out in 3. Aerodactyl comes out, and I expect it to knock Luna out, but it hits with Supersonic instead, letting Luna knock itself out. Spriggan comes out and wanting to get revenge on Aerodactyl embarrassing Luna, crits with Sludge, knocking it out. Last out is Dragonite, and Sludge isn't doing near the same damage against it. Slam hits the second turn and does some pretty good damage to Spriggan, unfortunately, and those Hardens were too late as Dragonite knocks it out next turn. Down to our last Pokemon, I send out Fairy. Dragonite moves first, taking Fairy down to 2/3 with a Slam, and Fairy gets a paralysis with Thunderbolt, but only does about a 1/5. Fairy hits another Thunderbolt, and Dragonite hits another Slam. If we get hit by another Slam, the run's over. But Dragonite misses the next Slam, yes, letting Fairy hit Thunderbolt one last time, taking it out. Lance and the Elite Four are down, all that's left to champion, and we've pretty much fought this team already with no issues, so this is the last battle of the run. Let's do this. Champion sends out Pidgeot, and I'm leading off with Fairy, setting up Defense Curls to get some badge boosts going. And after getting 6 Defense Curls set up and only taking 64 HP in damage, we can start the sweep. And Thunderbolt just does over half. Okay, I put a little too much confidence in Fairy, I guess. But Pidgeot does end up going down in 2. Alakazam comes out, and I'm glad it didn't spam Recover because that would have been annoying, and Fairy is able to knock it out. And then Fairy levels up and we lose all those badge boosts. You'll love to see it. So I swap into Spriggan, our other badge boosting team member, and with Rhydon using Tail Whip and Leer, we can use Harden all day, getting so many badge boosts. Rhydon eventually goes down in 2. Gyarados is an easy outspeed, easy one hit. Arcanine is also an easy outspeed, easy one hit. And then Spriggan levels up. Very unfortunate. I'm also curious about how much Fire Blast will do, which is also unfortunate because that lets Venusaur do a whole lot of damage to Spriggan before Fire Blast lands, doing like a 6th, a 7th, I don't even know. It wasn't a lot. Why am I throwing this? Venusaur then hits with Mega Drain, healing that damage back before Sludge takes it down to about a 1/3, but then Venusaur takes Spriggan out with another Mega Drain. Can Luna do it? Let's put Venusaur to sleep. Okay, good. Now we just have to spam Psychic and pray Venusaur doesn't wake up. Yes, we did it. We defeated Champion Troll, and that is Pokemon Red, but every Pokemon is Fairy type. Thank you so much for watching. Like I said before, this run was not exactly what I was expecting, but it definitely made me think a little bit more about how my teams are constructed and how the type matchups will affect certain points of the game. Next up in the Pokemon Red series is, and I'm definitely going to be picking my team wisely for this one because we're going to run into a very similar problem. Everything is neutral damage. Pokemon Red, but every move is Dragon type. The only things I know for sure are I'll need some good special tanks, and maybe Lance will be easy for a change? Maybe? Thank you again so much for watching. I really appreciate all your support. I will see you guys next time.